So now starts the game. It's a best of 3. Grin Ethereal versus WSS Satyrs. Grin Ethereal is currently, I think, 6-0. They have not dropped a game yet in any of their series. And WSS Satyrs is ranked, I believe, I might be mistaken, but #1 in the league. So now their draft is going to come up. I think Grin Ethereal, their way of drafting is they draft a Skywrath early because they have I think Niafan on their team Skywrath is like the only hero he plays pretty much, and they're trying to get a free ban on the Skywrath. So it looks like the ban actually came out on WSS. So now Grin Ethereal has to go with a they'll probably be able to get a free hero because they banned the Skywrath first.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like Sky in a core version is so annoying, especially with the early burst that he provides. And
yeah, definitely. Definitely, yeah. So I watched one of the games they played with their mid Skywrath. Their mid Skywrath just like took control of the first 25 minutes of the game, and the team just basically went after that. So with like a mid Skywrath pick, generally your later game just falls off really hard at a certain point because Skywrath just can't continue bursting heroes. You can get items like Sheepstick and like Necrobook and things like that, but it just is trying to compensate for how hard the hero falls off. He doesn't scale as well as a hero like Queen of Pain or like Death Prophet or any of those heroes scale.
I think Skywrath Mage is more like a snowball type of draft kind of thing, where you gotta like keep the pressure in. You either have the super hyper carry who comes at like 25 minutes and cleans everything up, or something like a Drow lineup might like the Skywrath Mage more, where the Drow needs the first 15-20 minutes, then Skywrath keeps on killing people, does what our Skywrath does until the power spikes goes away, and Drow shows up like a giant.
Yep, that's exactly how it is pretty much played. It's definitely a niche pick for types of drafts like those. But Grin Ethereal apparently has been getting away with just like standard picking it for most of their games, to the point where now WSS is just like banning it first round just so they don't give it away to Grin. And Grin, their draft already, they have Doom Grimstroke. They're going for the double Doom.
Yeah, it's already a strong combo.
Yeah, so most of their rotations and most of their game or map movements are going to be around the Doom and Grimstroke cooldowns.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marana and WSS Satyrs. They're going. I mean, it's like a similar kind of a similar draft to the Doom and Grimstroke. They're very good together, but apart, it's like their value kind of diminishes.
Yeah. And so, I believe you can also, if you disrupt people with Shadow Demon, the Doom damage does not take place on them, so it's going to be like a nice little save that they can do on these heroes.
Yeah, I think, well, for me personally, Doom is like mostly for the utility, not the damage, but yeah, right. It's like a 3-second
it's like taking one hero out of the team fight kind of thing. Makes it 4v5. Exactly. Yeah. And this hero is like broken. Like you see this in pro pubs and all over the place, and people are scared. They even sometimes ban it first phase against some teams.
The Doom?
Yeah, the Doom. He's really strong. Like laning phase, you eat a creep, you get like 14 HP regen per second, and I think at max you get like 25. With some items, you literally can be killed in lane. And when you throw in Inkswell Grimstroke, he just runs at you.
Yeah, it's definitely like a powerful combo through like most aspects of the game. The only thing that combo lacks is like a reliable stun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like something you still need kind of like a traditional initiator or someone to set up fights, because you can't always rely on the team to like fight into you, because that's what Doom and Grimstroke really succeeds at. When a team groups in to go on a hero, you go for the Grimstroke and then the Doom for like the follow up and the turnaround.
Yeah, definitely.
So Shadow Demon Marana WSS obviously wants to have like a really active early game. So this is just from a glimpse, Grin Ethereal is going for like a team fight lineup, and WSS is going for a pick-off lineup. So if WSS tries to get pick-offs into a team fight, Grin Ethereal will probably win if they have the correct heroes. But if WSS plays it right and gets the pick-off and then starts going for objectives, or maybe taking like the right fights, then they'll probably be able to win this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of interested on the ban on the Arcorn by WSS, because if you're going for these pick-off kind of drafts, usually like these kind of heroes who like to stay in the jungle. It's like easier smoke for them.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wouldn't think that Grin would pick with their I mean with at least their first two heroes an Arc Warden. They want something that kind of fights with them or something that pushes but can still be in the fight. Arc Warden needs you need to allocate a lot of time for Arc Warden to start like
Yeah,
getting strong. And I think Grin Ethereal need heroes that are just like strong
yeah,
without having farm.
yeah,
And
definitely.
there's heroes that do that that also farm. So Queen of Pain would be one. Obviously, it's banned, but I'm just naming them off the top of my head. Death Prophet scales really well. Queen of Pain scales really well. With their team, a DK as like a frontliner would be really good as well because if WSS groups on top of the DK, the Doom and Grimstroke can come and do like counter initiation,
Yeah.
and DK won't die because his passive is awesome.
And I think with DK you get that initiator with that 100% stun with the dragon tail.
Yeah,
That Doom
exactly.
and
It's
Grimstroke don't offer, and you can also double the stun. And I believe with the Siphon from Death Prophet, you also get one charge does two if they're bonded by Grimstroke with the ult.
Yeah, I
So,
believe so as
yeah.
well. So I mean, they all pair well with Grimstroke. The one thing I don't like about Grimstroke is he's really not as good at trading hits as other supports. So if Grimstroke
Yeah.
is in a lane with Shadow Demon, I would think Shadow Demon could actually trade hits a little bit better.
Yeah,
So
especially with the I forgot to spell poison.
Shadow Poison.
Sure, shadow poison. Yeah, especially if you get those stacks, you need to run away. And I think if you get 5 stacks and you're half HP on a support, you die. So
Yeah.
they need to be really careful.
Yep. And then of course when Shadow Demon gets 3, he gets another point in Shadow Poison generally.
Yeah.
Which is a big power spike for him. But when level 4, like around level 4 or 5 comes, Doom and Grimstroke are probably going to start running over the Drow Shadow Demon lane unless WSS pulls some crazy play. What they probably should be doing is maybe rotating the Moran into that lane and trying to turn
Especially
that
with the
around.
disruption, she can get some nice arrows
Exactly.
and try to
Yeah,
get the Stroh to snowball.
yeah. It's kind of actually a hard thing to land because it's very quick, the Shadow Demon Marana combo. So hopefully they practice because if you miss it, you miss out on like a big opportunity.
Yeah.
Like that combo is meant to get kills in the early game, and every missed kill is like a missed opportunity at snowballing, especially with Drow Ranger.
Yeah, definitely. I believe like looking at the Grin's draft, I think they might be looking for aggressive tri lane with the Grim Tree and Doom. Tree can come through these trees with the Inkswall on him to like set up these plays with the tree sprout, I believe, and get some easy kills, especially someone as squishy as Drow. And I don't think if WSS does an opposite counter like a try versus try, I think Grin wins those kind of matchup. So
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we have Doom and Treant Protectors, where two melee heroes against we have Drow, Shadow Demon, Marana. So those three heroes that could possibly be in the bot lane are all ranged, and we know that there's going to be one or two melee heroes in the bot lane. And melee against range is not really good up
yeah.
until the point where you get all your abilities and you get a little bit strong, which is around 4 or 5 for one of those lanes. So how I would actually play this lane is maybe go run Grimstroke top until Treant and Doom hit like level 3 or 4 or whenever they get strong, so maybe even level 5. And then with that tri lane, they'll be able to just run over the Drow and force her into jungle.
That makes sense too. Like when the Mirana wants to rotate top to get those kills, Treant also can mimic the same mirror, and they have their own kill potential with the Grim Treant.
Exactly. The map a big part about competitive play is balancing out the map. So if like one gank goes on in the bot lane, you want to either get someone to counter that and send someone to the bot lane, or send that person to another vulnerable lane. So, for example, if you're against the dual lane as a safe lane, if you're against the dual lane, if your support rotates to another lane, the dual lane will immediately take advantage of that and kill your carry, generally,
Definitely.
if things are played well. But all right, so draft rise, we have Doom, Grimstroke, Treant, Zeus. Very big team fight, early fight, up until I'd say like the 30-minute mark. That's going to be like the time when they're strongest, and they're going to start falling off a little bit after that, like 35 minutes. Drow, the new Drow at least, is actually really good at scaling, much better at scaling than she was before. Usually, Drow was kind of like you want to win the game by 25 minutes pick, but the
Mhm.
new Drow like actually scales much better than I ever would have thought that the
Yeah,
hero.
I think Drow's weakest moment is until the 10-minute mark, and after that,
Yeah,
she hits a couple of jungle camps. She comes out, she's the scariest person on the map. But
yeah,
I usually don't like playing Drow into a Zeus because the burst is kind of high, and I usually don't like to make that big heavy that early on without getting the Hurricane Pipe and some kind of agi items. So Drow needs to be like really careful on the positioning and be like behind or like right on top of the Zeus so she can gust and kill him before anything can happen.
yeah. You just outlined it perfectly. So Drow's like counter against Zeus. So I'm thinking like in a pub sense, but you could also do it, I suppose, in a competitive game. If you set up a gank with your heroes, Drow is actually really effective against Zeus with her Gust, especially
Mm-hmm.
if she gets more than 1 point in it. However, Zeus scaling into the game, the big mechanic of Zeus that I really like is his ability to give global vision. I also like Invoker Ags for the same reason. If you're ever unsure about something happening on the map, you can always ult for vision.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Definitely.
I don't see many people doing it. Even in Immortal, people like hesitate doing it, but it's actually super high value, especially in competitive. If you ruin a Mirana Shadow Demon Drow smoke gank, or
Mm-hmm.
if you ult and you find Drow is actually completely out of position, you can turn the game around just
Yeah.
single-handedly.
I was thinking about this pick from Grin. The Swan looks really beautiful with the draft they have. Like he can Inkswell, Axe, jump this Drow in the back line, and permastun them. Ooh,
Wow. All right.
Huskar.
So it's like pretty much opposite drafts. I kind of like
Yeah.
it. So WSS is trying to go for like an early win. Huskar obviously falls off around, depending on how good his game is going, falls off around like 30 minutes. However, he could scale later and later
Mm-hmm.
with right items and correct play. But I would say probably for this game's sake, Huskar is probably going to start falling off like 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you want to get towers with that. Grin Ethereal succeeds at team fight, and they are strongest at the around the 30-minute mark. That's when Zeus is going to have some items. That's when
Mm-hmm.
Sven is probably going to be pretty stacked, and that's when Grimstroke Doom is probably going to have
Yeah.
its highest like value. And obviously Tran is really good with items as well. So I would say for this game, Satyrs probably wants to get onto racks by like 25 to 30 minutes or force down towers as quickly as possible to restrict any farm on the map so that Sven doesn't hit his power spike or like
Mm-hmm.
his strongest point in the game. So it's really on, I would say this game is really on the Shadow Demon Murano rotations to set up the early push and also how well Huskar's lane goes.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
it should be an interesting game. With an intermediate series like this, I mean, generally a comp with harder, what's it called? With harder,
Team fight scenarios.
well, I would say, oh no, just harder execution.
Execution.
So
Yeah.
the execution of the draft. I'm sorry, I don't know why that word just got away from me. A draft with harder execution in the intermediate bracket is generally you don't see it winning as well because there are places where the execution just kind of falls off. However, actually, Grin did this in their last series. They picked a hard a draft I would say is hard to execute, like a push draft with Terrorblade. It's very like metamorphosis centric. So you
Okay.
always have to play around it, and you have to group your heroes on your places. They played it really well. So considering this is, or WSS is one of the stronger teams in the league, I think they're ranked like number one. I would assume that they are able to execute this draft, and if they do, I believe that as long as they get that tower by like 25 or 30 minutes, or I'm sorry, their tier 3 tower or racks by 25 or 30 minutes, they should have a good game. And if that doesn't happen, I would say this game is Grin favored.
Yeah. I think Green needs to be extremely careful laning wise. I think if they mess up their lanes, it's gonna be a hard comeback kind of thing. Especially
Yeah.
because this Zeus needs to go extremely defensive this game from the Huskar, from the Drow. He needs these 4 steps and yields before he can get that Ags to nuke these people.